Okay, thanks for having me. So I'm conscious this is the end of the day, so you're probably getting sick of it. So I'll try to, hopefully, technology will work. What I'm going to do is I'm going to briefly, hang on, yeah, it's better. Talk about the OU maths student as opposed to the traditional maths student, because there is quite a difference. I'll give you a quick look at an OU maths module, because they're very much website based and there's an awful lot of built-in digital support. Our OU live room, what you've seen something like it a while ago, but we use a thing called Blackboard Collaborate, and how we would use that as a virtual classroom. And then we're trying to bring all this together and how we're going to test it to have a virtual maths learning center. Okay, it's something new that we're thinking about. Okay. So, big difference between an open university student and your traditional student is we have an open entry policy, which means we don't have that natural vetting mechanism that most universities have. There is no GCSE, A-level, leaving cert requirement. Students can basically walk in the door totally unqualified. Now, we do provide some diagnostic tests and stuff like that, and they can ring up and talk to us, but really there is no entry, there's no interview, there's no nothing. Our students are typically mature students and part-time, and we do have the odd traditional age students, but I'd say 30 plus really would be our demographic, and part-time, doing a degree, probably 6 years. Okay, we do have some full-time students, and we are encouraging more full-time students, but the Open University really has always been for part-time students. The model is very much independent learning and tutor supported. What I mean by that is that we give you all the material, and it's quite a lot of material. We have extra activities, examples to replace a lecturer. So you're expected to learn on your own with the support of a tutor, as opposed to being told what to do. Okay. Our modules are, and this is the one thing that really confuses people when they come to the OU, especially if they have been in another university. When they sign up for a module, they expect it to be similar to a module that they did in another university, which probably took 12 weeks and would have been 5 ECTS credits, as opposed to ours are 15. And if you think, 1 year at university is 60 ECTS credits. So our modules are 15, a quarter of a year, okay? And sometimes they are 30 ECTS, which is half a year study. They go on for 8 months, and it's pretty intense assessment in that you can't drop sections, you can't skip bits. There's no just getting the past papers kind of stuff. We test everything. So it's pretty difficult. And it's quite a shock for students. We don't do service maths. So we really, I suppose, the model we have is almost like the 70s model, where the maths department did maths. If you were doing engineering or you're doing science, business, technology, you just took the maths modules that the maths students were taking. So because of that, we have a lack of specific content-related applications. We have some, but our maths is really for maths. It's very formal, and we have a big emphasis on good mathematical communication and stuff like that. So one of the reasons why we really need to have something like a virtual learning center is so we can start providing context-related maths for people doing engineering or science or business and stuff like that. So we have 4 level 1 maths modules, okay? The first one I've got there is called Exploring Maths, and that really is what we call gentle start maths if you're going to be doing a maths degree. It is really pre-calculus, but it's in incredible detail. The Essential Maths 1 and Essential Maths 2, they're calculus. They start off probably with the idea of a function, and Essential Maths 2 finishes up Taylor's theorem and stuff like that. But it's pretty detailed. This is half of the material for Essential Maths 1. And this is pretty dense stuff. So you can imagine most people wouldn't see all that in 2 years. But it's pretty detailed. And the last one is a statistics module, which is all about developing statistical thinking. That is level 1 maths with the Open University. Now, if you're doing science, engineering, tech, business, you would be asked to do 1 or 2 of those as part of your level 1. Now, our OU live room is called Blackboard Collaborate, and this is the first place this things can go drastically wrong for me because I have to log on to the internet, and hopefully it will happen pretty quickly. This is pretty similar to what you were looking at a while ago, the Acrobat, but it's Blackboard. I think they bought Illuminate and something else last year, and they collaborated. I think you use it in UCD, don't you? Yeah. And what this does is this allows us to have a virtual classroom. I've just got to, it's opened here. I've got to transfer it in a second. It's a virtual classroom, and it allows us to, here we go. So there you go. It's pretty similar to what you saw. In fact, it looks like the Acrobat one, except in reverse. Here you've got, we can use video, so we don't, because video is fairly heavy on your internet. So we only use audio, but down here you'll have a list of all the students who are in the class and the tutor. So this is my room, so that I'm the only one here at the moment, but if I had a load of students, they'd be listed here. This is a text area, so students can text questions and stuff like that, and you can respond. This is the whiteboard. You've got an option to upload content that you've already prepared at the beginning, so that can be PowerPoint or Word documents or stuff like that. You can share your desktop. So if you've got software, say if you're teaching stats and using something like Minitab, you can share your desktop, so you can show the students how to use Minitab if you want to show them how to actually log on to the thing, or you can run applications. We use Maxima as well instead of GeoGebra. So we can open Maxima on your desktop, and just the students can see exactly what you're doing. It also has the option of having breakout rooms. So if you've got, say, a group of 20 students and you're setting them a task, you can break them up into small groups, send them off into breakout rooms, and each breakout room looks exactly like the main room, and then bring them back again and amalgamate all the stuff. One of the great uses we see with this for a virtual learning center is we can arrange to have workshops where you can have a group of students, or we can do one-to-one by having students go into breakout rooms with individual tutors. So that's where we see the potential here. It has all the stuff that you said in Acrobat. You can put your hand up, you can applaud the tutor and do all that kind of stuff. They're all little buttons. So why do we want to have... We have an awful lot of, actually I meant to show you a website, I'll go back to it in a minute. We want to collate all our existing OU stuff. We've got an awful lot of screencasts, we've got videos, we've got examples of let me see, we had a really good one where we were measuring glacier shift using trigonometry here, all that kind of stuff. But they're all in individual modules. And the big problem is if you're not studying that module, you don't have access to it. So we have fabulous resources, but students who probably need the stuff from the basic maths module haven't got access to it because they didn't study that module. And like you were saying in the last thing, we have people who struggle big time with calculus, but it isn't the calculus that's the problem, it's the algebra. Stuff like just being able to factorize, being able to solve an equation, that's where they have the problem. It's the steps of doing the calculus. It's not the actual calculus itself. We'd like to start creating our source context-specific resources. There is an awful lot of stuff out there. I mean, with the Open University, we did an awful lot of stuff with the BBC. So there's an awful lot of stuff out there on the internet, but we need to really bring it all into one place so that students have access to it. So we could use the OU live room for workshops and for one-to-one teaching. And one of the main things we want to do is we want to maintain the sense of independent learning. I used to work for Olivia in UL years ago, and one of the biggest problems was, apart from her being a... I didn't say that, did I? We had a lot of students who used to come in with their assignments, basically. can you do my assignment? Can you do my tutorial sheet for me? And so we don't want that to happen. It probably would be a little bit more difficult to do that with the OU because the tutors already know what the assignments are anyway, but we don't want it to be show me how to do it. So we want to maintain this whole sense of independent learning by giving them all the resources and saying, here you are, we've categorized them for you, go and see if you've got the solution there. If you can't get the solution, then we have a booking system and arrange for a one-to-one session. Now, and the student forums, we're going to use student forums. I think you mentioned that a while ago as well, of having a way to get feedback from students or to put up a problem and have it solved. We use forums. Now, the last year I think I've been trying to get this up and running, and these things are very political when you're in a big organization. We have over 200,000 students, and it's a huge organization. So to actually make a suggestion that you want to have a virtual maths learning center, the amount of political maneuvering you would have to do to get the resource, to get a platform, is really difficult. But a couple of years ago, the OU got an awful lot of money for this open science lab, and this is a fantastic thing. And I gave a presentation a few weeks back to the director of the Open Science Lab, and he said, this would be brilliant. I'll give you the template for the Open Science Lab. And he's allowed me to use the Open Science Lab to develop this. So I'm just going to show you what the Open Science Lab is about. If it'll let me in. Yeah. Can you see that? So that is the Open Science Lab. And what it is, you've got a series of tiles, and every single one of these is different science applications. There's even a microscope, right? A virtual microscope. There's a telescope. You can get in and you can look at the stars through a live telescope. So they have everything. So what he's allowed me to do is to create this kind of a platform for a virtual learning center for maths. So you can imagine having each one of these tiles that's related to a particular maths topic. Now I have to sign in here to hopefully. Brilliant. So here's one we created, and it's just about trigonometry, because one of the problems that we find is that when we taught the trigonometry at, say, the Essential Maths 1 level, the stuff that they would have learned if they had done the Exploring Maths, the GCSE type stuff, like SOHCAHTOA and that kind of stuff, they had forgotten it or didn't know it in the first place. So we put all the resources in here together, and what we have is, if you like, a little resource bank that's got all the things that they should know before they go start this module, all in one place. This is one of the Maths Modules websites, okay? And I can pick a screencast out of here. As you can see, look, it's set up on the Moodle platform. In the middle, we've got a calendar that shows everything they're going to do for the whole of the 8 months, okay? And it tells them what they should be doing each week for the 8 months. For each unit, we have the soft version of it. So instead of using the hard copy, but we also have a number of little tutorial clips, and this is a screencast. So this one should work, I think, because it's operating straight off. Yeah, brilliant. So that's a typical screencast. The students can download these onto their own laptop, okay? They're all available, and they can keep them and they can play them back as many times as they want. What we were planning to do is to take something like this, like if we get on towards the end of it, it's only about 2 or 3 minutes long, we can pick out all the algebra and all the techniques that are needed to actually do this, and then find the screencasts of the more basic material and put them all together in one place So that, I mean, a lot of the time, and you probably, anyone who's taught in a maths learning centre or something like that, a student will never come in and tell you that they don't know the basics. You know, the problem is with calculus. It couldn't be with the fact that they can't solve simultaneous equations, or they can't solve a normal equation, or they can't complete the square, stuff like that. So if you provide it for them without actually making a big deal of it, they'll go and learn it themselves. That's our experience has been. Now we have about probably 6, 7 or 8 of these associated with every little topic. I know in Exploring Maths alone there's almost 70 screencasts on that web, and that does everything from adding a plus and a minus right up to exponentials and log functions. And that's pre doing this module. One of our big emphases is on good mathematical communication. So the reason for doing it like this is we teach the student how to actually lay the problem out. And they get used to probably copying it down the first time or two, and then they eventually learn how to do it. How are we doing for time? Are we doing for time? So you see, look, it's quite detailed by the time it gets to the end, right?
When x is close to 0, 3x squared will be quite small. And when x is bigger, 3x squared will be bigger. Again, we expect the curve to be not as steep near the origin and steeper further away from it.
I'll let that play out. One of the things that we can also do with that in the Open Science Lab website is we can decide who has access to that, okay? So we can decide by module code. So like we have probably at any one time doing, say, this particular module, we have over 2,000 students doing it, and it runs twice a year. The 2,000 students would be coming from several other different pathways. They could be science students, engineering, tech, but we can pick out the degree that they're doing by code, and we can restrict it to just certain degrees. If a student logs on, we can actually tell what the student is studying, and we can tell what they're accessing. So we would be able to tell how many hits. So if somebody, say, looks at that screencast, we will know how many times that screencast has been hit. We will know the student's background. All that information is there already. So we can get very good feedback without actually having to ask the students themselves. The other thing that we have on here is forums. There's forums for every single book. So each one of these has got its own forum. And the students are in groups for their area, and they can log on to these forums and they can put up a question. And other students can answer. We have tutors who moderate the forum to make sure that everything is done kind of within reason. We don't allow bullying and stuff like that. We moderate it all the time. But we do use Facebook, and students do have their own Facebook stuff, and they have all kinds of stuff, and we have to monitor that all the time. We use Turnitin in a big way because there are sites that publish Open University solutions. Yeah? So we're constantly having to go after that. But by providing these forums, this is kind of the social side of studying with the Open University, because we don't have a college bar, we don't have all that kind of stuff. So the students tend to get together on the forums and discuss what's going on in the course and stuff like that. One of the things that we'll be providing with the Virtual Maths Learning Centre is a forum so that students can kind of tell us what they think of the material we've put up and what's missing. That will give us, I think, the best kind of feedback, rather than giving them a questionnaire. We thought about the idea of them having to log in and give their ID and say what they're interested in, all that kind of stuff. But I think the more you ask a student to do, the less likely they are to go anywhere near the thing. They will avoid it totally. So by just putting up a forum and saying, look, if you think it's okay, let us know. If you think there's something missing, let us know. We're probably going to get much better feedback. I'm over time, so if there's any questions.
So this question isn't the virtual support, but you just mentioned there that you got students to submit coursework to Turnitin. Is that text submission or is it handwritten?
Oh, all our stuff is actually submitted online. Okay.
But is it handwritten work?
It's for maths, what they do is they can handwrite it, scan it into their phone, and then it's uploaded. So it's we can't do Turnitin for that stuff, but for computing and for all the other stuff, it automatically goes Turnitin when it's put into our system. For maths, you know, all we can do is rely on tutors to say, I have 2 students and this looks really familiar. But we do have a number of tutors that do keep an eye on all the various websites, Yahoo Answers and all that kind of stuff. How do we mark it? We get them as, for maths, they submit as PDF. So we use PDF Viewer, PDF Exchange for marking. I mark with a pen.
No, I'm doing something similar, you see.
Right.
I use the assignment tool in Blackboard, you know, get students to submit through there, download everything to my iPad and work online.
Yeah.
But I just want to tell you.
Well, we have a built-in system that the OU developed, and for every other course except maths, it's Word, and they use track changes and stuff like that. But for maths, because if a student submits in Word, depending on the version of Word that the tutor has, it can distort the maths, and it's your word against the students. So we only allow students to submit in PDF.
You said it was Adobe what?
PDF Exchange or Adobe Viewer. I have PDF Exchange. I think it cost me, I think it was 35 quid for the license for the year, and it allows me to do everything.
That was 3 years actually, wasn't it?
It's a 3 years, yeah. It allows me to do everything. And I use the Surface Pro, so it's got a pen, so I can just write like I'm writing on. But that's an expensive tab. That's an expensive tie, really. Here, the Surface Pro. Yeah, yeah. Anything else?
Does this replace your current provision of delivery, or is it supplemental?
Oh, this is supplementary. Like we deliver like this. We do have tutorials, face-to-face and online, but they're not compulsory. So we don't have the issue of kind of saying if we provide this stuff, students won't turn up to lectures. We don't do lectures. It's independent learning. So the idea is this is a very good way of providing context-related examples for engineers, science, business people, because the maths itself is very formally taught.
I'm just wondering if the cost as a supplement, what's the cost to the OU if you like delivering this?
Well,
OU is pretty high quality.
there isn't any cost because we're not creating anything really. All this material, all the screencasts and all that is already built into the various courses.
Okay.
But because they're all on individual courses, unless you're doing that course, you don't have access to it. And if you have done, say, the Exploring Maths course, and then you're on to doing this one, if you didn't download the stuff and keep it on your laptop, once you finish the course, going back, you don't have access to it again. So the idea is to get all the stuff that we spent a lot of money, as you say, creating, because it's all done on like proper studios, to put it all in one place so that the students will actually use it. Now we've also got links to the Khan Academy, but rather than just having a link to the Khan Academy, for say trigonometry, what we've done, we've a link to this trigonometry section of the Khan Academy, because that's what you have to do with students. You can't, you might as well just say, there's the internet, because unless you actually do it for them and make it pretty and make it attractive, they won't do it. I mean, there's no guarantee that they even look at these screencasts. I mean, if you look there, I can't see it from, it's too far away from me, but like you've got loads of little activities here, but whether the students actually look at it or not, we don't know. But if we didn't have it, they'd complain.
Do you use quality control on the screencasts?
Oh God, everything is vetted.
By you or by
No, when something is created, Sally will tell you, like she was a module chair when we created a module. It takes about 2 years to create a module, and there is so much quality control and external examiners, and all our everything is checked by externs, and all our externs are probably Russell Group.
Because no, we had some in Limerick, and we just
found it depended on who was recording. Some of them were just so procedural, there was no
Yeah.
relational kind of understanding at all. So I was just wondering, is that problem?
No, they're done over and over again, aren't they? And a lot of them are done by the same people who write the course material as well. And they are checked, and they're sent out to tutors to check them, and they're sent out to students to check them, and they're redone if they're not right. It's a pain, to be honest with you, creating anything. But once it's done properly. Now we do have the other facility, which I think it's Jing, is the software package where you can create screencasts, and tutors can create their own stuff and use them. But I think with Jing you're only allowed to do, there's a maximum of 3 or 4 minutes or something like that, and they can upload stuff onto forums for students if they want to create their own stuff. But all the stuff that's on the modules they're really professionally done. They're done in the studio, and they're very high quality. There's videos as well, but the videos are all 15, 20 minutes long, so yeah. As you can see just by the material, I mean, it's very professionally done. It's really, detailed. And that's only half the material for one module. So you could imagine if you were doing, say, half a year, which would be, you'd have 8 of those books. That's a lot, Small print. You done?
Do you track it all? I mean, I know with those Blackboard and all those, you can track how often students
You can track.
use it. I don't mean on a tutor by tutor basis. The OU look at how much their stuff is being used by the students in general and kind of sense to see.
Yeah, every tutor has got. There's a thing down here. I mean, it's called a grade book. It's not too sure which side it is. And basically, the tutor can go in and can look at how many times their students are engaging with the website. We have things like practice quizzes, and we have interactive computer marked assignments, and the tutor can tell exactly how many times the students have attempted it, what they scored each time, what problems they had, what parts they had issues with. Every single thing. Moodle tracks everything.
Yeah, to answer your concern.
The OU do anything. There's a lot
Yeah.
of talk nowadays about
Yeah.
have they done anything with that and looked at it in any way to see are students using the screencasts or the videos more, or just from that aspect?
That's one of the main things we want to do with the Virtual Learning Centre, is to actually, because we're piloting here in Ireland just for Irish students, and it's just a bunch of us here that are doing it, and the idea is to roll it out for the whole of the OU. But in order to do that, we would have to have a business case to apply for funding. To get that, we would need to know what students are accessing what, how many times, where are they having problems, and what needs to be developed. Okay. So our funding wouldn't be for a premises or anything like that. It would be to develop better material and to pay people to do it. This is just getting started. I only got the approval about 3 weeks ago, and I'm still waiting for the ethical stuff to actually be able to use the data. But hopefully this time next year we'll have a very fully functioning site. I'm quite happy to come back and demonstrate it. Yeah.
Do you envisage having staff to act as tutors specifically to address the drop-in question?
What we were looking at is, say for this module here, and I find it very hard to call them, I'm used to working in codes. This is MST 124, it's easier for me to talk in codes. We would have, in Ireland alone, we have probably 8 tutors teaching on this. Now, what we plan to do is to work, it's a group tuition model. So every tutor probably has a preference for a particular topic within the module. So somebody would be very good at, say the trigonometry bit, just stick at that. So what we plan to do, each tutor has a number of hours that they allocate to student support. So rather than using all that in, say, face-to-face tutorials or online tutorials, we'll take possibly 2 hours and let them to a 2-hour workshop in the Virtual Learning Centre on trigonometry for all the students in Ireland who are studying this module, as opposed to their own group of 20 or whatever. And it's a good way of using the resources already paid for. But rather than having a 2-hour tutorial, say, in Tala, that 2 students turn up for. If we had a workshop for 2 hours on a particular topic that we know students are having a problem with online, we may get 20 or 30 students turning up for that way. But the idea is to find out what the students are having issues with, to actually talk to the tutors who are on the front line and know the issues, and then deal with those. It'll be very interesting. I'm sure we will see a lot of the results that we see already today. It's the preliminary stuff that's the problem. And students won't tell you that, but that's where the problem is. It's fractions, basic algebra, stuff like that. Significant figures, being able to, that's where we see an awful lot of the problems.